What is going on, guys? We made it. 2021, it's here. Happy New Year to everyone. It's been a weird, tough year for many. It's been a year of ups and downs without a doubt. Some good things definitely came from it, of course, obviously. We started this year, and very grateful for this. Very grateful for the new people that I've met. Very excited for the platform that it's given me, for the new people that I'm going to meet, but you guys are also going to meet coming up. Uh, Obviously, 2020 was a weird year. I'm filming this New Year's Eve, and I'm not out celebrating with friends or anything like that. And that's just kind of the way that the year goes. But that's all right. I guess I kind of made a couple new friends, hopefully, you know what I mean, with you guys, the audience, and different things like that through the course of the year. But not just for me. Football it's been a wild year. So I thought, let's do a little recap, but let's also, I think, again, we made it. We're out of it. Let's talk about the things that are exciting going forward. So without further ado, let's talk about the biggest moments. I would say the three biggest moments that happened just in the world of football. You can't start anywhere else than the shutdown. I mean, I would love to not talk about, COVID or anything like that, but it's just not the reality. When you're talking about a year in your review, that's our year. Handling that, you know what I mean? What is, figuring out our lives within the constraints that COVID has given us. And one of the things that happened early on was that, unfortunately, we had to live in a world where football wasn't happening. Obviously, the health of others and health of everybody comes first, and we understand that. That does not mean it wasn't really hard. And that doesn't mean that I wasn't trying and scouring the earth to try to find any league. If I could have watched the Ukrainian league or whatever, not the Ukrainian league, but wherever it was that was still playing, whatever, wherever crazy country that was still playing, if I could have watched it, I was trying to. So the shutdown was massive. It had massive and still is having massive ramifications. The biggest, I think, maybe not the worst, but the most publicized and visible one is what's happening in France, where because of the shutdown and deals, TV deals collapsing and different things, the big news coming out of there is that the belief is, besides basically PSG, you're going to see a lot of those clubs having to sell players maybe a little earlier or for a little less money than they would have liked to, because the money just isn't there like they want it to be. The shutdown was tough for a lot of people. I think the one constant thing that I think when I talk to anybody is when we're talking about the game, it's a safe haven. It's like this comfort for people, and that was taken away, and that was hard. Now, granted, I say that, and it is still minuscule when it comes to the lives and everything like that have been taken, no doubt about it. But it is a big part of mine, and I know a lot of people's lives, and so the shutdown was a massive thing, and by far the biggest story of 2020 when it comes to football. The next, unfortunately, is not a good story either. For me, it was the death of Maradona. Obviously, footballers die and different things like that every day, and people die every day. And unfortunately, 2020, people died of a lot for different reasons, but it was not the best year. But the passing of Maradona was just different because of what he did for the game, what he meant to the game, and the icon status that he had within it, and it showed. So even though it was such a crushing blow for the sport, and just and losing him and the man of his legacy was tough, I think the coolest thing about that was the silver lining you got to find in that, which you have to do in everything, is you saw the outpouring of love and affection and admiration that a lot of people had from all over the place for Maradona. He we've talked about it obviously on this podcast already, but the guy was, so influential, and he's still influential through players that, maybe took parts of his game and put it in theirs. The biggest representation is Lionel Messi, obviously. And so that's just, that's the cool thing about what this game does is, like, because it is the world's game, you got to see when these icons, when they go, it doesn't just affect, single places or places they played, where they come from, anything like that. It affects the world, and we can come together and recognize and appreciate the legend that was Maradona. And so, tragic loss, massive loss, but amazing what we got to see with how much love and admiration there was for that man. And it was deserved, without a doubt. This third one, it'll be the final one of just moments for 2020. A little bittersweet for me. But I think it, in 2020, was Liverpool winning their first Premier League title. I said that first. You don't think I was just going to talk about this and not rag on them a little bit? Liverpool dominated. They were champs. We knew they were going to be champs probably before 2020 even started. But they did it. They did the thing. They absolutely just battered everybody for most of the year. They deserved to win the title. Their first title in 30 years. 30 years without winning a league title. That's amazing. So, I mean, they're on the same amount as Blackburn with league titles, which is great for them, and Leicester. And so, they're a decent club. Maybe not, United, Chelsea, Man City, even Arsenal. Maybe not that level yet, but they'll get there one day. Obviously, with the success that they had, winning the Champions League the year prior, and then winning the title in 2020, they were impressive. Klopp, for as much as I hate Liverpool, he's hard to dislike. He has such, passion and such, energy, and that his personality shows on the field with the way that the team plays, and it's impressive. It really is. Now, their 2020 hasn't been, the end half of 2020 hasn't been as good. Obviously, injuries and different things like that. They're still first, not by much. But kudos to them. I hate them. If we want to strike it from the record because of all the things that happened in 2020, I'm totally in favor of it. But until then, we have to give all respect has to go to them for finally winning their first, Premier League title. I don't know if I had said that. Their first one, same as Blackburn. I might have mentioned that already. But they finally did it, and kudos to them. So we'll move on because I'm tired of talking about Liverpool. The next little bit of this, I want to just kind of, I got everyone has the awards have been given out, FIFA, different things like that, even though they didn't give out the Ballon d'Or this year for whatever reason, but we're able to give out everything else. Lewandowski, of course, screwed by that. I will not stop talking about it until something happens. So, it is what it is. I have my list of people. Just give you a rundown of what we have. Most exciting young player, most disappointing 2020, so that can be player or club, whatever it is. Most surprising, worst person of 2020, best person of 2020, best performance, team of the year, best bit of business, worst business, coach of the year, and then, of course, player of the year. So, let's start off with the future. The most exciting young player. Now, I racked my brain on this, like, all right, do I want to pick someone that is a little bit, like, a little more under the radar, not so much like mainstream. I wanted to. I really wanted to. There's there's a lot of exciting players, right? Of course, close to home, Mason Greenwood. You have even in the Premier League, you got Saka, you have Phil Foden, you have a lot of different players even in the Premier League. Ansu Fati in Spain, you have a lot of those guys. Basically, the entire Dortmund starting lineup. But one person in that lineup had to get the credit. It has to be Haaland. What he's done, the amount of goals that he's scored, is unbelievable. And I couldn't look past it. I couldn't just give it to someone who had a good year, kind of broke onto the scene, because the truth is, he's so young. He's as young, if not younger, than some of these other guys that are doing it really big or breaking onto the scene, whatever it is. And so Erling Haaland's got to be the most exciting young player in world football right now. There's no doubt about it, especially when he's one of the younger guys that is doing it. So I think that's pretty fair. Let's talk about the most disappointing 2020. I think there's a few, right? I think with the way that the way we ended the last season, you would have never thought Real Madrid would be where they're at. I thought there was excitement. I kind of expected Barcelona to struggle, and they have, and they're definitely a candidate for this. I would say you have a lot of different teams. You've got some you got bad players as far as how they performed over 2020. Different things like that. But I would say, with the amount of optimism, with the arrogance from the fan base, and we all have arrogant fan bases. Let's be honest. I come from a United fan base. There's no secret that there's arrogance there. But I think with what people thought was going to happen and with what has happened, my biggest disappointment is Arsenal. I mean, I will get onto it, but we're going to be talking about a title race that is very open, and you're talking about Arsenal in a relegation battle. Now, do I think they're going to get relegated? No. But are they, besides the last couple results, they've looked like they have zero answers. And it's amazing when you consider how much optimism, how much belief there was in Arteta. And I'm not saying that we should lose faith in him immediately. He hasn't been in the job that long. But I don't see anything that's been more disappointing than just Arsenal as a whole, because I think you have to look at them on the field, but off the field, some of the things they did with, getting rid of a lot of employees, getting rid of their mascot, but then also spending a decent amount in the transfer market. It was. And, of course, football is the business, right? So you got to try and make yourself successful. So I think it probably would have been I'm not saying it would have made it right, but people would have swallowed it a little better had there actually been some success on the field. Obviously, there's not been that. On top of maybe less than, top-tier moral standing when it came to some of the decisions they made in terms of firing people and different things like that. So most disappointing for me has to be Arsenal. I'm not disappointed, but they should be for sure. Most surprising, and realistically, we shouldn't be all that surprised. We really shouldn't be. But 39 years old, Zlatan Ibrahimovic has been unbelievable. 2020, he is still reminding us, still proving to people, which I don't know why he needs to prove anything to anybody, but people still have doubted him. He's a specimen, and he's one of the best to ever play the game. The level that he's still playing at to this day, it is unbelievable. Milan he's firing Milan. Obviously, they've got a good little team now, but him being there and you just being consistent, being a catalyst, being just a spearhead of that attack has put them into a position where they're now looking at possibly contending for that title, which is something they haven't done in several years. And so, kudos goes to Zlatan. We shouldn't be surprised, but I think we got to be surprised how well he's done, especially when most people thought he was on a retirement tour in the United States, and then he just goes back to Europe, and he's Zlatan. That's just what it is, right? I think the next thing we need to talk about is before I get to the best person, we'll start with the worst person because I don't want to talk much about him. I think this could have gone different ways. I didn't want to go, I think people hate different people and people probably have different opinion. But I think when we just look at football, for the most part, I think who I picked for worst person of 2020 would be Bartomeu. Now he's stepped down from Barcelona, but obviously everyone is well aware with the saga that went on with Messi and different things like that. Would he go? Would he not? Obviously, they're like, yeah, that's not going to happen, which you can't really blame them for not wanting him to leave. But Bartomeu, Messi's come out, said more things about him, just the lies and different things like that. I think we've known for years that this guy is inept and honestly just not a great person. And it just kind of came to the forefront. And so with as much love as people have for Messi and how in our brains, no one could expect anyone to not basically give the world to him, right? Because Barcelona's not Barcelona the past decade plus without Messi. That's just what it is. I'm not saying they wouldn't be good. Of course, Barcelona has a rich history, but Messi is, continues to be, top of the class when it comes to players in the world. Many people would say he is the best player to ever play, and it's hard to argue, especially the guy, which should one of my biggest moments because I've always talked about Pele's goal scoring record, but him breaking it for one club was amazing. But I'm sure, and especially love that, it's being disputed, which is hilarious considering a lot of the goals that Pele scored probably could be disputed as well. So, but back to Bartomeu, just how can you treat a guy of this stature who has given so much to the club and has never caused a problem ever, treat him so poorly, and not only that, treated him poorly, but also has not looked after the club the way that he should have, because Barcelona is not in a good spot. Of course they have, players and different things like that, and maybe they've underachieved even with the players they have. Of course, I would probably agree, but I have not liked the transfers they've made over the past couple of years. I haven't liked a few things that they've done that just haven't made sense. And to be fair, it looks like I'm not alone, because it looks like Messi probably would agree with me. Probably about the only thing Lionel Messi and I have in common, but I'll take it. So, Bartomeu, worst person in football of 2020 for me. The best person, I'm biased, but I don't think anyone can disagree with this, and it's Marcus Rashford. Marcus got the honorary MBE. That guy will be knighted one day. What he has done is incredible. The way that he has, taken this cause that obviously is near and dear to his heart, but use the platform that he uses. We talk. There's a lot of talk about athletes and the platform they have and what they do with it and different things like that. And honestly, I think what this does is it completely pushes back on any narrative that these athletes can't make change within the real world. It shows that they can, as long as they use that properly. You can get a lot done when you have this kind of platform. And Marcus has gone above and beyond to use his platform, to use his stature as, a professional athlete at one of the biggest clubs in the world, and he's done a lot of good for a lot of children and a lot of families. And it's amazing. And the best part about it is he's continued his form on the field as well, which is deserving. There's not a better person to be having another great year after a great year last year. It's amazing to see. He's still, and the fact that he's doing this at, just turning 23 years old, is incredible. He's a young guy with a great future as far as his career goes, but the guy's amazing, and he's been amazing. And my guess is he's not going to stop making an impact on and off the field. So kudos goes to Marcus Rashford. I love him. I loved him before this. I'm going to keep loving him after this. So well done for sure. The next category is best performance of 2020. There were some different ones. Some great player performances. We talked about Messi. Messi had a few. I would love to give, Bruno Fernandes has had some great performances with lots of, production in games, different things like that. But I think that the performance of the season, or performance of 2020, I should say, has to go to Aston Villa, which is a recent one, semi-recent one, beating Liverpool. And putting 7 goals past Liverpool is unbelievable, unthinkable, honestly, for anybody. But Aston Villa to do that, and of course, I know everyone's like, of course, because they beat Liverpool. Yes, 100%. But the fact that Aston Villa was a club that barely stayed up last year, I might have been wrong about them finishing 20th this year. But I wasn't alone in thinking that they would have done poorly. They've done well in the league. They're doing really well. But no one expected that, and to not only beat them but just annihilate them, it just is, furthering their season and what they've done and the accomplishment that they've had from turning their season, barely staying up, then going to pump the reigning champions of the league. It was incredible. They firmly deserved it. They were amazing in the game. They've looked much better than they did last year, and for that, I think it was the most shocking result. It was, for me, it's the best performance that any team that has had in 2020, realistically, in a single game. The next couple are about business. So the transfer market. We'll start with the worst bit of business. I have a little bit of a tie. And I'll have a tiebreaker for this, but I have to give both. My two are Arthur and Havertz. Now, I don't necessarily think that they were bad decisions, or the thought of them is not bad, but what you've gotten from that business is not good. But long run, I could be wrong here, and I wouldn't be surprised if I'm wrong. But for the amount of money that they paid for that you had to buy these two players for, that Chelsea and Juventus did, you're not getting anywhere near what you thought. Now, here's my tiebreaker. Arthur is a little bit older. No, not much. He's only like 24. Havertz is definitely younger. However, Arthur basically hasn't played because he's gotten beaten out. He had a little injury, of course, but he has not been anywhere near what you pay in the 70s for, 70 million for whatsoever. Havertz, granted, is in the 80s. He is younger, and he's more of an attacking player, which is why he costs more as well. But COVID was definitely a reason for him not playing. And that is something that you can't really, we can't fully control that, right? He got sick, had to take 2 weeks off, different things. You don't know how it affects them. You saw it with Pogba. He's talked about it and how he struggled when he came back from it, different things like that. However, it's not like he was lighting the world on fire before. Yes, he's got 4 and 4 assisting goals, but 3 of those goals came against in the EFL Cup. So it's weighted, that's weighted pretty heavily. Especially I think they scored 6 goals in that game. So he's not been great, but 20 years old, 21 years old, has been affected by COVID, has had some production, has looked all right, is the only reason why he is 1A or 1B. And Arthur, for me, is 1. He's the worst bit of business, which is shocking because Juventus is usually money. And again, could still be money. But any guy that, for the most part, for me, he's not someone that should be basically getting bounced out of the starting lineup by Weston McKennie ever. That that was an odd piece of business for a lot of people, but they kind of do the same job where, box to box combative midfielders, they're not going to get a lot of production out of them, those type of things. Can move the ball well, different things. Of course, I think Arthur's a much more technically gifted footballer. Weston's probably a much better athlete. Those type of things offset. Weston's been chosen. Weston's in the starting lineup. He's scoring goals. He's doing different things. He's doing well. Arthur is 70 million, and he's played, I think, a total of 13 games or so, something like that. That's not good enough. That's not good enough business, especially for a club like Juventus, who, they have Cristiano Ronaldo. I love Cristiano Ronaldo. Cristiano Ronaldo's not getting any younger. When you make these big business decisions, you are focusing on the now, and that decision didn't help their now as much as it should have for $70 million. And for that, it's my worst bit of business. I'm very happy to talk about this next business, which is the best piece of business. And I looked, there's lots, right? And, I'm sure that there are other ones where you got good production and different things. There's free transfers and different things like that. But Bruno Fernandes for 50 million euros is my best business. I am again biased. I will not lie about that. However, when you look at the production that this guy's had, and then you couple that with the impact that he's clearly had on the team, right? So even when we're not talking about his production, he has changed the way that we play. He's changed what we can do, what we're capable of at United. He's one of the biggest reasons why we're in the position that we are in, and because of that, to come and change the momentum of Manchester United, no matter where we're at, we are still one of the biggest clubs in the world. He has changed the dynamics of our club and has us in a position where a lot of things are possible. They really are. Do I think that was he the last fix? No. But the guy is scoring and assisting at ridiculous levels, even when I don't think he plays all that well. And I think there's been quite a few games where he leaves a lot to be desired in terms of his overall impact on the game. But guess what? I don't really care because the guy got a goal or an assist or both in that game. And so he's been incredible, and for 50 million, that's cheap. When you look at the midfielders that we just talked about, Havertz and Arthur both went for more than him. Granted, different players. Havertz is actually quite similar, attacking midfielder, those type of things. And he goes for 30 million cheaper, and he has completely transformed Manchester United into something really exciting. So for me, that's the best bit of business. Again, I know I'm biased. It is what it is. The next thing on is the coach of 2020. It's not Klopp. It's not. I talked about it. They did great. Their title was amazing. It was. But without a doubt, the coach of 2020 is Hansi Flick. Their Champions League win after coming in, I mean, he wasn't the manager to start the year in 2019. Obviously, he came in 2019, and, I mean, they did well. But 2020 hits, and they are unstoppable up until this new season, which was a little tough, right? They had a little bit of odd footing to start, but they've recovered. They're top of the league in the Bundesliga. They're still firing. I mean, this guy winning everything with them. He's, again, we talk about it with Bruno. Like, I think that guy came in and transformed Bayern. I'm not saying that like he completely changed everything, right? They still have mainly the same players. He was still using a lot of the same players that were being used. It just looked like they had new life. They had new ideas. He breathed life into them, and they turned it into this juggernaut. And they're the best. He's done magic for him. And honestly, I'll just foray this into the next part. And the team of the year, it has to be Bayern Munich. They were the best team last season, and that was after he came in. They're again top of Bundesliga. They won the Champions League. They've won just about everything in Germany, and they're still going. They're still getting better. They're bringing in, and like they're not just doing it by like the same. They're bringing in youth players. They're doing different things. Like they're just doing all the things, basically how you like want a football club to do things. They're making great business, good buys, smart buys, different things like that. They're like everything that's made in Germany. They're just this well-oiled machine that is never going to stop. Hopefully it stops a little bit so some other teams can have success, but, you never know. They're going to ride it till the wheels fall off, and it doesn't look like they're falling off anytime soon. Bayern's been unbelievable. And, I'd like to be creative, but it's a clean sweep. It really is. Bayern is the team of the year. They had the coach of the year, and they had the player of the year. Of course, I had to put him here because he got snubbed with not winning the Ballon d'Or. He didn't get snubbed with the FIFA Player of the Year, but Lewandowski, what can you say? I mean, he was the best player on the best team, still doing it. Different things, goals, assists, whatever it is. The work rate is high. All of those things. He's amazing. I know some people thought I probably would have picked Bruno. I didn't. I'm not that biased. Come on now. No, he was amazing, and he deserves all the recognition. He deserved a Ballon d'Or. He didn't get it, but I'm gonna jump on with everybody else and make sure I give him. Even though this means nothing, he's not gonna hear this, but he deserves all the adulation, all the praise, everything. He did it. He was the man in 2020. His TikToks were great as well. The guy is an Adonis. That his body just keeps getting better too. He's unbelievable. He really is. If Rashford wasn't a saint, he might be my person of the year. He's just amazing. It just seems like he's like the Bayern team. Not that he was doing poorly, but he just has new energy and new life about him. And it's amazing. He's been great for so long and overshadowed by other people that have been amazing as well. And right now is his time, and he's doing it. So it's great. The last part that I want to do is I want to talk about the few things that I'm excited for. Right? It's a new year. We talked about the past, but now it's the future. And 2021 has a lot going on, a lot for us to be excited about. And I'll get to them. There's tournaments coming up that are exciting. They are. But for me, as a Manchester United fan, as a football fan, as a Premier League fan, I'm excited with the fact that for the first time in a little while, the title race in the Premier League is pretty wide open. And obviously, I'm even more excited about the fact that Manchester United is in that discussion. We're a win away from being, tied on points with Liverpool at the top of the league, but you have Leicester breathing up his neck. You have, I think, Everton's look great. Tottenham's there. Man City, of course. Chelsea, if they can kind of get it together. There's teams, not Arsenal, but there are teams that are really vying for spots. And I mean, this year you've seen if you slip a little bit, someone else will take over, right? People thought Tottenham was going to win. People thought Chelsea was going to win, and different things like that. It's exciting, and I love it, right? I like, and it's even better, of course, that Manchester United for me is in that fight. I like watching the fight, Of course, for Liverpool fans that haven't won in 30 years, I get it. Like, winning that title by that much, of course, right? City wins, the Centurions, right? Like, of course you like that, but I think for a neutral football fan, and I'm not saying I'm neutral, but we want to see that fight. We want to see, I'm not saying it has to go to the last day, but it does get a little dull when it's decided 2 months out. Like, okay, well, these games mean a lot less now. We want the games to mean something every time, more than just we want our team to win. And this year it looks like you're going to have games meaning a lot for a long time into the season, and that's amazing. Outside of the Premier League, I think you have a lot of races everywhere. Serie A, Juventus is not a runaway right now. Obviously, it looks like, Atletico has been the third best team. They look like they have a great chance, but there's other teams vying for that top spot. Germany, it's not far off, right? Leverkusen and Leipzig, they're in it. Dortmund, of course. I still kind of think Bayern's going to run away with that one. I don't know about run away. It might be a little closer, but they're going to probably handle that one. It kind of seems like they found their form. And then the French league, yeah, it is what it is. So, outside of that, though, like I said, the tournaments. The big one is the Euros. That's exciting, right? We didn't get that in 2020. You have a lot of exciting teams. People are trying to knock France off their perch, right? And you got some good national teams, and I think you have some resurgence from some of these national teams as well. Spain looks like a good team again. England has a great, strong squad. Belgium, number one in the world. Lots of different teams that could do some damage, and that's exciting. I'm ready to see, the teams, the young players that are going to come through, the up and coming guys that are going to be on a new stage and get to shine there, right? A team like Scotland being back in a major tournament for the first time in, I don't know, about as long as Liverpool had since they'd won a title, that kind of thing. There's a lot of cool storylines and different things that are really appealing for the Euros. And then the last one for me is the Gold Cup. Much smaller tournament, doesn't mean as much, but what I'm excited to see is the United States fielding a team that, one, basically everyone can get behind as long as it happens the way it is. I mean, we've seen recently some of these young players, right, get in there, have some good showings. You have your Reynas, you have your Musas, you have Dest, all these people. I can go on and on and on, right? Didn't get to see him with Pulisic though. You didn't get to see all the starting pieces, and it's exciting to see who's gonna make make the jump? Who's he gonna bring in? Different things like that. Can the what I would say successful recruitment of different like dual national players and different things like that, and kind of a change from the old guard, can that turn itself into success? The measuring stick obviously being Mexico, probably I would say, and so it's exciting to see can we have that success there, and I think we can. So I'm excited. 2020. What can you say? It's not been the greatest. It might have been the worst, but 2021's here, and I'm excited for it. I hope you guys are excited. I'm ready for a new year. I'm ready for a lot of new and exciting things that are going to happen, just like I hope they are for you. Thank you guys so much for being a part of 2020, and I hope you continue to be a part of 2021 with us as we grow and bring you a lot more videos. And I can't wait for the guests that I have coming up. I think you guys will enjoy them as well. So stay tuned, stay safe, and love you guys. Peace.